Hey guys, Chris here. An important topic I wanted to go over. It's 2020 now, of course. New year, new beginning. Obviously, COVID going on. Hope everyone's safe. Important topic that I feel that needs to be addressed once again is data backups and why you should have proper backups in today's world. So, obviously, data is pretty driven today, whether it comes personal or companies. Companies for data, it's ranging anywhere from customer data, databases, proprietary information, and anything basically in between. And then, of course, you've got the other side of the coin being personal data. That's anywhere from photos, game saves, homework, projects, family vacations, music, and basically everything in between. And then you have obviously another side of that being personal, sensitive data, which would be like your social security number, personal information related to you, medical records, social security numbers, anything data-wise that links you to your address or who you are as your identity as a person, which all needs to be stored properly. Obviously, when it comes to company data, that's something that they have a lot of safety guards in. There's a lot of non-disclosure agreements, a lot of data that's locked down, only certain people have access to it, etc. Personal data, obviously that's something that you should have securely stored in some form or fashion, not just chilling anywhere that anyone can have access to. Sensitive data regarding like your birth records, anything that's related to you as a person should obviously be stored out of sight, out of mind. Not something I'd recommend storing in the cloud for backups or anything of that nature, because then who knows who may have access to it. It should be something that only you have access to. When it comes to today, there's really cheap storage. It's really cheap to go and buy any amount of drives, ranging anywhere from a flash drive being a little small thumb drive. They've gotten really cheap. Also really small but a large amount of storage. They're up to, I believe, 1 or 2 terabytes now. So really cheap, easy. The only bad part you have about flash drives is the fact that they can break if they are not stored properly and securely. They should be out of sight, but able to be accessed when and only needed, and for backups. Same thing goes for an external hard drive. Those range anywhere from your little pocket, small external SSD to a large 8 terabyte drive. 16 terabyte drives are coming out that are externals. And you can even go as far as like a NAS drive, which is a little small cube that can have anywhere from like 4 to 16 bays worth of drives in it. Really depends on what your needs are and how much you need as a person. I'll go over my methods here shortly. And then of course you have cloud-based storage, but the problem you have with that is using clouds, you're using someone else's service, and you are expecting and hoping that they will secure everything correctly and won't have any data breaches. But as we know, in the last 5 years or so, there's been a lot of data breaches and a lot of issues that have happened because companies don't keep up with their IT security policies and procedures. So backups are a good idea. Using the cloud for your only source of backups is not exactly something that I would recommend doing, but that's just my own personal belief due to the fact that I'm not going to trust someone else to host my data securely for me. It is something that I will do myself. Things to consider when you are going ahead, and if you don't have a backup plan, if you're trying to make one, is not all methods. There isn't one size, there isn't one shoe, anything that fits for everyone. Everyone's needs are different. Really just depends on what you need to go and come up with. As an example, if you're like small family, probably have kids, they may possibly be in school at this point. School data needs to be backed up, obviously, because you don't want to lose homework. You want your kids to be able to continue with their education. And you'll have your own personal data, which you deem important as yourself, whoever that may be, whether it's family photos. Speaking from the photo side, photos are not something you can ever basically recover. If a photo's lost and it's not backed up correctly, you can't exactly go and take a photo of your 1-year-old's birthday as an example again. It's gone forever. There's nothing you can do to get that back. When it comes to like music as an example, yeah, you could probably find that again, unless maybe you're a music producer and you create music. You may not be able to recover that again. It really depends on your current situation. When you are coming up with a backup method, there are a few things that you should consider. One, you need to make sure that it works within your budget. Two, your storage should be accurate to the amount that you need. So as an example, if you need 7 terabytes of storage, you should have 7 terabytes plus more to continually do your backups. Another thing that is also that you need to consider, once your backups are done, you're not done with your backups. They are something you continually need to go back and add to as your content in your media or family photos, games, whatever it may be that you deem important, that you need to continually keep backing it up. You also need to come up with a schedule of how you're going to accomplish that. Are you going to have, like, as an example, a thumb drive with 1 terabyte of data on it that you back up once every month or so? It all depends on what works for you and how often your data changes. If your data changes often, you probably should have a more thorough and a more robust schedule of how often you do your backups. Also, your backups need to be extremely easy to maintain and upkeep. You don't need some super overcomplicated, over-engineered process. And this ranges from the personal level up to the company level. Personally, myself, I have probably a more robust schedule and a more backup plan than most companies do at this point in time, because I've learned my lessons and I've lost a lot of data over the years. I've made a lot of mistakes to get to where I am right now. Also, backups should be able to be quickly accessed and used if you need to restore from said backups. Cloud, again, is a great option to do that, but if you're doing, let's say, a couple terabytes of data and you've now lost that, now you have to spend the next 3 to 6 hours downloading that data again, and at that point in time, you're down for good, depending on possibly what it is. If it's like a backup to get your computer or your business up and running, you're losing money at that point because you're waiting for your restore to come back. Restores should be easily accessed and maintained and be able to be used in case of a major event to where you have to restore from them. Another option and another thing that you also have to consider is you need to make sure and you need to test and verify that those backups do indeed work. The worst thing you want to have happen is have a high failure and a emergency happen and your backups don't work because you never tested them. I've seen that so many times in the company and at the IT industry level that it's pretty scary. Another thing that I wanted to go over as well is what's called the 3-2-1 backup rule, meaning that you should have 3 copies at all time of all data that is deemed not able to be lost. So it should be data that is deemed necessary that you cannot lose, whether it's personal data, whether it's company data, whatever importance it is. You should have 3 copies of that. You should have 2 full complete backup copies in home, in site, in company, whatever the case may be, and you should also have 1 off site. That brings me to basically the plan and the backup procedure that I use at a personal level. So I have roughly 65 terabytes in my pool on my main server. I have about 90% of that in use, which I will be doing some upgrades on some drives here shortly, which I will be doing another video on that. I also have and I'm using Unraid. And then on my second server, I'm also using Unraid, which I do have some previous videos you can check out to how that works and how I set it up. But I have basically 2 pools that are both 65 terabytes roughly in space that I have a full complete 1-to-1 backup of. I also have a third server that is sitting at a family member's house, which has roughly, I believe, 35 terabytes roughly on it. Now that doesn't back up everything, but that backs up a good 70% of everything I have in home that is what I deem not necessary that I can lose. I am not able to lose that data. That is something that I want to keep. The rest of it, I don't mind keeping. I don't mind losing. That is data that I can recover in some form or fashion. It's online, whatever the case may be. It is not deemed important to me. And that is sitting at a family member's house that is roughly about 3 hours away. Worst case scenario, I can have that server mailed to me, bring it here, and restore 70% of my data and be up and running again. I also went a step further, and I have a 4 terabyte drive, external drive, that has all my family photos, because I am the backup for my friends, my family, myself, of everything that they deem important photo-wise that I have on that drive. I have my configurations and apps and programs and everything that I need to be able to get up and running, God forbid, in the event of a data loss or personal emergency, whether it be fire, whatever the case may be here. And I do have other videos that I will be putting out shortly to further explain that. Hopefully that gives you guys a little bit more insight and a better idea of what you should be doing personally. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Have a good one, guys.